This video is part of a series in which I'm taking a dive into famous baseball players that are typically associated with one team. But what if they never actually played for that team? Stick with me and I'll tell you the story about what could have been. What is going on, everybody? Thanks for joining me on my channel, Brutus on Baseball. I'm going to continue my video series once again of some of the biggest baseball players primarily associated with one team, but looking at the stories of what may have been had they never signed with that team or signed with a different team instead. In the most recent videos, we talked about some huge players signing contracts for the first time after the color barrier was broken. We looked at Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, and even Roberto Clemente. Now I'm going to go back in time just a little bit more to right before the color barrier was broken, but a name that is still very closely associated with Jackie Robinson. Harold Henry Reese may not be the name that is synonymous with the Brooklyn Dodgers historic franchise, but his more common nickname, Pee Wee Reese, certainly is. Although Reese didn't pack a lot of muscle behind him, he actually earned his nickname not because of his size. He was 5'10", but because as a kid, he loved playing marbles and competed in the Louisville Pee Wee Marbles competition. Pee Wee Reese would go on to be the face of the Dodgers franchise in the late 1940s and early 1950s, often referred to as the Boys of Summer, alongside his double-play partner Jackie Robinson. And he was named the Dodgers captain starting in 1950. He was a slick fielding shortstop and the spark plug of the team, and compiled a WAR of almost 70 over his career, even while missing 3 full seasons between 1943 and 1945, his age 24 to 26 seasons when he enlisted in the Navy. He played his entire career for the Dodgers from 1940 and including his final year in 1958, which happened to be the Dodgers' first year in Los Angeles. And he was there to support his new teammate Jackie Robinson as he transitioned into the major leagues. But what if Reese had never played for the Dodgers at all? See, Reese first signed a professional contract at the age of 19 to play with the Louisville Colonels of the American Association. Reese performed well in his first season and showed that he could hit, steal bases, and play defense as he immediately became a team leader and earning another nickname, the Little Colonel. In 1938, though, the Louisville Colonels didn't have an affiliation with a major league team, and in September of that year, Tom Yawkey, the owner of the Boston Red Sox, was part of a group that purchased the Colonels for $195,000. The deal was held in secret, and it was rumored to have been finished primarily so that the Red Sox would have the rights to sign Pee Wee Reese. But someone else on the Red Sox wasn't having it. Joe Cronin had been the shortstop for the Red Sox since 1935 when he was picked up in a trade with a former Washington Nationals team. Cronin was a great hitter in 1939 when Reese was getting ready for the major leagues, but he was starting to get older and would only be a productive regular player for another 3 seasons after that. The problem, though, was that not only was Cronin the Red Sox shortstop, he was also the Red Sox player-manager, a concept that was quite common in those days to have your best player also manage the team on the field. And Cronin had no interest in giving up his position and playing time. So by July of 1939, Yawkey had very little choice and decided to sell Reese to the Brooklyn Dodgers for $35,000 and 3 more players to be named later, none of whom turned out to be serviceable major league players, by the way. Reese had been excited to one day soon be playing in Boston for the Red Sox, and upon hearing the news of his sale while playing in the American Association All-Star Game, he was dejected. When a newspaperman told him he would be going to the Dodgers, he reportedly responded with the quote, "Oh, not Brooklyn." The Dodgers, you see, hadn't been good for years and had finished in the bottom half of the league almost year in and year out throughout their entire history. But at the end of his great career, Reese admitted that being sold to Brooklyn had been the greatest break of his playing life. Leo Durocher was Brooklyn's shortstop at the time of the deal, but was serviceable at best on both sides of the ball, finishing his 17-year career with about 4 WAR. After hitting hundreds of ground balls to Reese in spring training of 1940, he couldn't deny Reese's skills were far superior to his own, and he conceded that he would relinquish the position to become bench coach for the team and would let Pee Wee play shortstop. Joe Cronin played the same position well from 39 to about 1941, and Reese did miss those years between 43 and 45 anyway, serving in the Navy. But imagine what could have been had he stuck with the Red Sox through those years and come back in 1946 to set the table in front of Ted Williams and Bobby Doerr. Now, the Red Sox did have a shortstop. Johnny Pesky certainly made a name for himself for those Red Sox teams as well and had his share of success. But there's little doubt that having Reese man shortstop would have been an upgrade for the Red Sox over Pesky. When you look at Reese's stats, they just don't tell the entire story about how well-rounded a player he actually was, especially on defense and on the base paths. But most importantly was how incredibly great he was as a leader of that Brooklyn team and the kindness and guidance that he showed to everyone on the roster. Ted Williams famously never won, only playing in the one World Series in 1946 in his first year back after serving in the war. Could having Reese in the lineup put the Red Sox over the top in that season, or any of the others to follow? Could they have broken the curse so that Boston would not had to have waited until 2004 to win again? And perhaps most intriguing of all, how would Jackie Robinson's integration into the major leagues have changed without Reese's leadership on that Dodgers team in 1947? Or would it have been different at all? Because of Joe Cronin and him wanting to stay on shortstop? We'll just never know. Thanks again to everybody for joining me. Join me next time when I continue this series with more stories. Until then, keep talking baseball, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you around.